Good morning, Magic. I'm Gavin Verhey from Wizards of the Coast. And this weekend is Adventures in the Forgotten Realms pre-release weekend. But what's in a pre-release pack? What do pre-releases look like this time around? And how should you build your deck? Well, let me tell you all about it today. I love pre-releases. Pre-releases are your first place to get your hands on the newest cards from the set in person. And then afterwards, you can start slotting them into your favorite decks too. Now, pre-release packs you can find in game stores. Many of you probably already have a game store that you like, and if you don't, you can find one using our store locator tool online. Now, this time around, many stores will be running pre-releases in person, especially here in the United States. But if your store isn't, your area isn't, or you just don't feel comfortable doing so yet, don't worry. First, I'll check with your store to see if they're offering anything online, for example, through Discord. And if not, or if you just want to do something else, we're going to have a big pre-release party. And you can find out more over on afrparty.com. But we've partnered with our friends at Channel Fireball, and they're going to be running this with us for an all weekend long festivity online where you can play Magic over Spelltable. But no matter how you're playing, what you're going to want to get is one of these, an Adventures in the Forgotten Realms pre-release pack. What's inside? Well, I brought in a special guest to walk us through it. Gavin, over to you. Thanks, Gavin. I'm here with an Adventures in the Forgotten Realms pre-release pack, and let's crack this thing open and see what's inside. Here's what it looks like on the outside. No, there's a couple different things this time around. One is that there's this survey, which I encourage you to all go take. Tell us what you think about Magic. magic.wizards.com/AFR survey. But a couple cool things going on here. Here's the outer little piece, outer paper, and then we'll crack open this pack. So we'll open it up like this. First thing you'll find is you get your pre-release card. It could be one of any stamped rare or mythic rare in the set. We got Zalto, the Fire Giant Duke right here. Good in your Tim Commander deck, but for limited, a great beater. 5 mana, 7/3 trample, as well as letting you venture into the dungeon some. So that could be any stamped rare or mythic in the set. And you get that little pre-release stamp right there, the 2021. You also get this little insert right here, which is pretty fun. On the front, it's got Xanathar's Guide to Dungeons. You can read all about how the dungeon mechanic works if you don't already know. And then on the back, there's some good tips for building a pre-release deck. I'm gonna cover some of these in this video. But you also right here inside your pack in case you need that. Now, as far as what else you find here, something very important you're gonna find are these. And these are foil tokens, which are pretty exciting, but they're tokens on one side and the foil dungeons on the other, which is pretty cool. Not only are they foil, which is, kind of special, but also just make sure that you have whatever dungeons that you need to play the game. So that's pretty awesome. Coming up next, we've got a divider, cool logo on it, and 6 booster packs. And it are these booster packs that we're gonna crack open to build our sealed deck. Now, importantly, one more thing's hiding down here at the bottom, and that is this. This is a D20. Now, I wanna note, this is not your normal spin down D20. This is a D20 done in the traditional sense, which makes it all the better to roll your D20 cards with in this set. So it's a little different for Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, but because of the D20 mechanic, because of the tie to Dungeons and Dragons, it really made a lot of sense to do this instead of a spin down. And that's what you find in a pre-release pack. And now, back to you, Gavin. Thanks, Gavin. You're always so helpful. So from there, you're going to want to crack open all 6 of those packs. And you're going to use what's in those packs, plus as many basic lands as you want to build your pre-release deck. It's going to be 40 cards. So you're looking for about 23 cards from those packs, plus about 17 lands that you'll add in to make your deck. Now, my recommendation is you're probably going to want to narrow it down to 2 colors to play with. Things that you should be looking for to choose your colors are just really strong rares that you're going to want to play with, evasion, so things like flying, and removal spells, cards that kill off opponents' creatures. Those are often the backbone of a limited deck. One more thing you should keep an eye out for are the 10 2-color draft archetypes. For every 2-color combination, there's kind of a strategy that goes along with it. And you don't have to play that strategy, but often your cards will point in that direction. And if your sealed pool has enough cards in a 2-color combination that really point toward a strategy, that can be a great one to pick. So let me tell you about all 10 of them. Blue-white is all about adventuring into the dungeon with the venture mechanic. Now, blue-white likes going deep into dungeons, either trying to complete the longest dungeon or loop through the other dungeons multiple times. Unlike the black-white deck, which we'll get to in a second, which is about venturing quickly, this deck is often a little bit slower and will take its time, but then really get its dungeon engines rolling. Next up is blue-black saboteurs. This is full of cards that give you an effect when you hit your opponent. So you'll want to get some of those down and then find ways to get them through. For example, equipment or spells, or simply killing off your opponent's creatures that are in your way. Get ready to line your pockets because red-black is all about treasure. Play cards that get you treasure and then spend them on cards that give you effects for spending treasure. One thing I'll note about this archetype in particular is be careful about how you spend your treasure, because often you want to keep one around to be able to trigger some cards that reward you for using treasure on them later in the game. Red-green is about pack tactics. There are a number of cards in the set with this ability word, and they want you to have 6 power of attacking creatures. So build up your creatures, get ready to attack, and let all of your pack tactics abilities trigger and crush your opponent. Now moving on to the enemy colors, we have white-black. Now white-black is also about venturing into dungeons, but unlike its blue-white counterpart, white-black wants to complete a dungeon quickly, so it can turn on its cards that reward you for having completed a dungeon this game. It'll often pick a short dungeon route to go through, try and speed through it, and then get its cards primed and ready to attack. Let's roll some dice with blue-red dice rolling. This is one of my favorite archetypes and really something unique to Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. There are cards that reward you for rolling dice and give you better odds at finding what you need by allowing you to roll multiple dice and choose one result. Put them all together and you have a pretty fun die rolling deck. Green-black loves death, and Adventures in the Forgotten Realms is no exception with its Death Matters deck. You want creatures to die every turn in almost a Morbid-esque way to turn on a bunch of your abilities. Plus, you've got some dies triggers too to boot. Red-white is a good old standby. Equipment. Get some creatures down, toss some equipment onto them, and start smashing face, preferably with bonuses for having those equipment attached. And finally, we have blue-green. Now blue-green in this set is all about ramping and going big, which is no surprise. Blue-green has done that before. But one thing that is different this time around is you are ramping into abilities. There are a number of activated abilities in the set which are quite expensive to use. And this way you can have enough mana to both use them and cast a spell in a turn, or even in some cases, use the ability twice in a single turn. Well, adventurer, that should be everything you need to know for the Adventures in the Forgotten Realms pre-release. So find a local game store, get a pre-release pack, and either play in store or head over to afrparty.com for an awesome event all weekend long. If you want more information on building your sealed deck, go check out my article on dailymtg.com. It's a full-on pre-release primer with lots of helpful tips. But otherwise, I will talk with you again soon. And in the meantime, may you have a lot of fun preparing for the pre-release. You got this. You may just become a vessel for Vecna himself. And that's where this card design came from. It made a lot of sense to do something like Kaldra here, where you had to collect all 3 pieces to summon Vecna. A lot of designs were tried, but ultimately this was the winner. Lose life from a Vecna artifact, and you'll be sure